You walked in for milk, bread, coffee, maybe eggs. 40 minutes later, you're standing at the checkout with a cart that costs 3 times what you planned, and you have no idea how it happened. Here's the uncomfortable part. You didn't lose control. You never had it. Every color, every smell, every song playing over the speakers, every inch of space between shelves, none of it is an accident. Somebody designed it, tested it, measured it, and approved it, because it made you spend more. This isn't a story about groceries. It's a story about a building engineered, block by block, to defeat your willpower and win. By the end of this, you won't be able to walk into a supermarket the same way again. There's a number that should stop you cold. Between 60 and 70% of everything bought inside a grocery store was never on a list. Not some people forget things. 60 to 70%. Most of what leaves the building was never planned before you walked in, which raises an unsettling question. If most purchases aren't decided at home, where are they decided? They're decided inside, in real time, while you're distracted, hungry, tired, or just moving too fast to notice you're being steered. And the average shopper now spends over 23 minutes inside that building. 23 minutes is not an accident either. It's a target. Before you've picked up a single item, the store has already started working on you. Walk through the doors of almost any major supermarket, and the first thing you see isn't food. It's flowers, bright produce, warm lighting, color everywhere. There's a name for this in behavioral psychology: implicit priming. Expose someone to a pleasant stimulus, and their reaction to everything that follows shifts, without them ever knowing why. Retailers know something simple and brutal. Happy shoppers spend more. So the first 10 seconds are engineered to make you feel good, before you've made a single decision. But priming your mood is only step 1. The next step happens in a direction you don't even choose. Roughly 90% of people, when they walk through a set of doors, instinctively turn right. Not because anyone told them to. It's a subconscious pattern, and supermarket designers have known about it for decades, which is exactly why the first big promotional display, the seasonal deal, the new arrival table, is almost always on your right. You think you're exploring the store. You're actually walking a route someone else drew for you before you ever arrived. And once you're moving along that route, the store has another weapon waiting. One you can't see, but you can smell. That warm, comforting scent of fresh-baked bread the moment you walk in? In many stores, it isn't coming from the bakery. It's coming from a vent. Some chains pump artificial baking aromas through their ventilation systems, whether anything is actually baking or not. Industry research has shown that the smell of fresh bread can dramatically increase bakery sales. The trick works because smell doesn't pass through logic first. It goes straight to the parts of your brain responsible for memory and emotion, long before your rational mind has time to ask, "Am I even hungry?" Your nose isn't just being tempted, it's being programmed. And once your appetite is quietly switched on, the store is ready for its next move. The sound you're hearing right now might be influencing you more than you think. Back in 1982, researcher Ronald Milliman ran a simple experiment inside a real supermarket. He didn't change the prices. He didn't move the products. He didn't redesign the shelves. He only changed one thing: the music. Some days, the store played fast music. Other days, it played slow music. Everything else stayed exactly the same. The results surprised almost everyone. When the music slowed down, sales increased by more than 38%. Why? Because people walked more slowly. The slower they walked, the longer they stayed inside the store. The longer they stayed, the more products they noticed. And the more products they noticed, the more they bought. But it gets even stranger. In another series of experiments, researchers played French music near a wine display. Customers bought significantly more French wine. Then they switched to German music. Without changing anything else, German wine sales increased instead. When shoppers were asked if the background music had influenced their decision, almost all of them said no. They believed they had made a completely independent choice. They hadn't. The room had quietly made part of that decision for them. By now, your mood has been shaped. Your walking speed has been controlled. Your attention has been guided. And you still haven't reached the products you actually came to buy. Which brings us to one of the oldest tricks in retail: Ask yourself something you've probably never questioned. Why is milk almost always at the very back of the store? The same goes for eggs, butter, basic groceries, the things almost everyone needs. Most people assume it's because those products need refrigeration. But refrigeration isn't the real reason, it's routing. If the products you came for are placed at the back, you're forced to walk through nearly the entire supermarket before reaching them. And then, you have to walk all the way back to the checkout. That journey exposes you to hundreds of products you never intended to see. Every extra aisle becomes another opportunity for an impulse purchase. Every display becomes another temptation. Every end cap becomes another chance to interrupt your original plan. The longer your route, the higher your bill. But even after guiding you through the store, there's another invisible battle happening. One that takes place exactly where your eyes naturally land. Retail experts have a saying, eye level is buy level. The products sitting directly in front of your eyes aren't there because they're the best. They're there because someone paid for that position. Manufacturers spend millions competing for premium shelf space because they know something simple. If you don't see a product, you're unlikely to buy it. Store brands, cheaper alternatives, and less profitable items are often placed higher or lower, where your attention is less likely to go. You're not comparing products equally. You're comparing products that have already won the battle for your attention. And while you're making those comparisons, you're pushing something that quietly changes how much you'll buy. The shopping cart itself. Take a look at a shopping cart from the 1990s. Now, compare it to one used in most supermarkets today. It's much bigger. That wasn't an accident. Retail consultant Martin Lindstrom conducted a real-world experiment. When stores doubled the size of shopping carts, customers bought up to 40% more. Not because they suddenly needed more groceries, simply because they had more space to fill. It's a surprisingly powerful psychological effect. An empty cart feels incomplete. A full cart feels satisfying. The larger the cart, the longer it takes to reach that feeling. So you keep adding items. One more snack, one more drink, one more just-in-case purchase. Researchers discovered something even more fascinating. When shopping carts included larger sections for fruits and vegetables, people bought more produce. Nothing else changed. The products didn't become cheaper. The signs didn't change. The only difference was the amount of empty space. Your brain interpreted that space as the amount you were supposed to fill. The cart wasn't simply carrying your groceries. It was silently telling you how much buying felt normal. And once your cart starts filling up, the next battle begins. Not inside the cart, inside your head. Take a look at almost any price tag inside a supermarket. $4.99, $9.99, $19.99, $24.99. The number 9 is everywhere. That's because retailers understand something called the left digit effect. Your brain reads numbers from left to right, and it gives much more importance to the first digit than it should. $19.99 doesn't feel like $20. It feels like something in the $19 range, even though the difference is only 1 cent. Researchers at MIT and the University of Chicago tested this idea. They sold the exact same product at 3 different prices: $34, $39, and $44. Logic says the cheapest option should sell the most. It didn't. The product priced at $39 outsold both the cheaper and the more expensive version. Nothing changed except the final digit. One number completely changed how people perceived value. Your brain wasn't calculating, it was estimating. And supermarkets know that. But sometimes, changing a single digit isn't enough. Sometimes the smartest choice is the one they wanted you to make from the very beginning. Imagine you're choosing between 3 subscription plans. The first costs $59. The second costs $125. The third also costs $125, but includes everything from the second option, plus more benefits. At first glance, one of those options makes absolutely no sense. And that's exactly the point. Years ago, The Economist offered these exact choices to potential subscribers. Almost nobody chose the middle option. It wasn't supposed to be chosen. It existed for one reason only: to make the most expensive option feel like an incredible deal. Behavioral economist Dan Ariely later recreated the experiment. When the pointless middle option was removed, People became much less likely to choose the premium plan. Nothing about the premium offer had changed, only the comparison had. The expensive option didn't become more valuable. It only looked more valuable. Supermarkets use this strategy everywhere. A medium drink sitting next to a large. A family pack placed beside a value pack. A premium brand positioned next to an even more expensive product. The goal isn't to help you compare. The goal is to control what comparison you're making. You believe you're choosing the best value. In reality, someone carefully designed which option would look like the smartest choice. And once you've made dozens of decisions like these, something begins to happen inside your brain. Not because you're weak, because your brain is getting tired. By the time you finally reach the checkout, you've already made hundreds of tiny decisions. Which brand? Which flavor? Which size? Which price? Should I buy this? Do I really need that? Every decision consumes a small amount of mental energy. Psychologists call this decision fatigue. As your brain becomes exhausted, self-control slowly decreases. That's exactly why checkout lanes are filled with candy, gum, magazines, soft drinks, and small impulse purchases. Not because they fit there. Because that's the exact moment when saying yes becomes easier than saying no. You've already spent 20 or 30 minutes making decisions. Now your brain wants the easiest possible answer, and the easiest answer is to grab one more item. One more chocolate bar, one more pack of gum, one more cold drink. They're inexpensive enough to avoid careful thinking, profitable enough to generate billions in extra sales every year. The supermarket isn't trying to convince you anymore. It's simply waiting for your willpower to run out. But everything we've talked about so far, flowers, music, pricing, cart size, checkout lanes, all of these tricks were designed for everyone. The next evolution is something much more powerful. Because now, supermarkets don't just influence shoppers, they're starting to learn from them. But everything we've talked about so far has one thing in common. Every shopper experienced the same tricks, the same music, the same layout, the same prices, the same shelves. It was mass psychology. Today, that's beginning to change. Walk into a growing number of supermarkets and you may notice something different. The paper price tags are disappearing. In their place, small digital screens. At first glance, they seem harmless. They're easier for employees to update. They reduce paper waste. They make promotions faster. That's the official explanation. But digital price tags can do something paper never could. They can change instantly. A manager no longer needs to print thousands of labels. Prices can be updated across an entire store with a few clicks. And that possibility has started a much bigger conversation. What happens when prices are no longer fixed? What happens if they change throughout the day? Or during periods of high demand? Or after a sporting event? When hundreds of people suddenly walk into the store? Some lawmakers in the United States have already questioned whether this technology could eventually lead to dynamic pricing inside supermarkets. Retailers argue the technology improves efficiency. Critics worry it opens the door to something far more powerful, because pricing has always been one of the strongest psychological tools in retail. Now imagine that tool reacting in real time. It becomes even more interesting when you add data. Some grocery chains have experimented with smart shelves equipped with cameras, not to identify who you are, but to estimate information like age or gender. The companies involved have publicly denied using facial recognition to personalize prices. Even so, the idea has raised serious concerns among regulators and lawmakers, because once technology can observe shoppers, the next logical question becomes impossible to ignore. Could stores eventually predict what you're likely to buy before you even know it yourself? That changes everything. For decades, supermarkets studied crowds. Now they can begin studying individuals, and that's a completely different game. Think back to the beginning. You walked into the store for milk. Nothing more. Yet somehow, your shopping cart looked completely different by the time you reached the checkout. It wasn't because you lacked discipline. It wasn't because you made one bad decision. It was the result of dozens of tiny influences working together. The flowers near the entrance, the bright colors, the smell of fresh bread, the slow background music, the route that forced you past hundreds of products, the brands placed directly at eye level. The oversized shopping cart, prices ending in 99. Decoy products designed to reshape your perception of value. Impulse items waiting beside the checkout. None of these techniques are especially powerful on their own, but together, they create an environment carefully engineered to increase spending. That's the real product supermarkets have been perfecting for decades. Not groceries, human behavior. The building isn't simply filled with food, it's filled with psychology. Every aisle, every display, every promotion is another experiment designed to answer one question: how can we make people buy just a little bit more? And here's the uncomfortable truth. Most of the time, it works. The next time you walk into a supermarket, you'll notice the flowers. You'll notice the music. You'll notice how the essentials are always far away. You'll notice the candy waiting beside the checkout. And once you see those patterns, it's almost impossible to ignore them. But supermarkets didn't invent this system. They simply became incredibly good at using it. Today, the exact same psychological principles appear everywhere. Inside online stores, streaming subscriptions, banking apps, food delivery platforms, even the websites you visit every single day. The supermarket was only the beginning. Understanding how businesses influence your decisions is the first step toward taking those decisions back. And that's exactly what we'll uncover next. Because the biggest psychological tricks aren't hiding inside supermarkets anymore. They're hiding inside the apps you use every single day.